The terrifying monsters gathered and ready to attack the soldiers were overwhelmed to hold back the monsters. They only hoped that the hero could defeat the Demon King. They wondered to the hero, he has been fighting all day. Can he really defeat the Demon King? Meanwhile, in the Demon King's castle, a woman who was the hero's partner fell weakly on the floor. Then the Demon King said, "Hero, because of you I can finally take this land and make this world finally stable." The hero replied, "I won't let you do it, Demon King Moriarty." The Demon King said, "Let's finish this hero." It was all just a comic drawn by our MC Xu Yingsu, a 25-year-old single man who draws manhwa for a living. Today he lost his job because the comic entitled, "The Hero Battles the Demon King." He got low ratings and readership continued to drop. He was told by his boss to make his last chapter today and after that leave here. While crying he said, "See you later, I'll make this chapter amazing and you'll regret it for the rest of your life." He was determined to make his comic amazing. Outside a rainstorm was happening. Then suddenly lightning struck his office. Because of the strike, Xu Ying's office was blacked out, and unfortunately, he had not saved the comic he was working on. He said, "Even God doesn't allow it." But strangely, the monitor screen did not turn off but turned on. Then Xu Ying held the screen and suddenly released a bright light, and the MC was absorbed into it. He also screamed in fear. Then a voice appeared explaining that he was an administrator of his comic. Xu Ying was confused and wondered, where did this voice come from? What is meant by administrator? The transfer procedure occurred in a matter of 321. Xu Ying was burned and felt hot, but did not feel pain at all. The transfer process was complete, and in front of him there was a light that was so bright, and he entered it. He fell from the sky, and below him was a continent named Pant Continent, which he made from his own comics. He wondered if this was real. Underneath there was a war going on. The soldier below shouted, "Look what fell from the sky," and is heading for the Demon King's residence. The MC screamed in fear, and then he crashed into the Demon King's castle. He was still confused and said, "Is this the result of him staying up late to finish the comic? What dream am I having?" He did not expect to dream of entering the comic he was working on. Suddenly he was called by the hero named Ash. He was asked, why can a second-grade soldier destroy the Demon King's castle protector, and can destroy his residence like this? Xu Ying was surprised. Xu Ying was surprised why she became a character in the comic. She felt scared, and it felt very real. Was she not dreaming? She was surprised to see the Demon King in front of her. Demon King said, "Where are these insects? I will kill you too." A female colleague of the hero named Tia shouted to Xu Ying, "Warrior, why are you staying there? The hero and Demon King will fight there. Do you want to die? Get out of the way." Xu Ying was still confused as to why Tia was here. And what did she say, fight? It's not like this scene was the last one I drew. That means from now on Moriarty will attack here. Then the Demon King attacked with his sword and he shouted, "Don't come near." And suddenly the hero blocked the attack and the hero was stabbed right in his chest. Tia shouted, "Ash." The sword was pulled out and the hero fell back. Xu Ying and Tia approached the hero. Tia cried and said, "Why did you save him? If you die, who will defeat the Demon King?" The MC was confused once this was not what I planned. The hero was dying and he spoke hobbled, "I don't know. My body is moving by itself. I feel that he is the person I have to protect to save this world." Xu Ying shouted, "Ash." Then a very large warning system appeared, and he wondered, warning for what? A message appeared and said, "Warning." Ash's sudden death caused his rating to drop from 4.8 to 3.4, and that was lower than the required rating. The world, the hero battles, the Demon King, will be destroyed. Yu Xing called out the hero's name. The Demon King said not to be sad. His death is in my hands. Consider it as my contribution to the control of this country. Tai replied that she didn't deserve to be the leader of this country. Demon King said, "I don't deserve it. The bastards who sealed me 1,000 years ago also said that, but now they are dead, while I am still alive." Xu Ying was scared because Demon King became angry because of Tia's words. Demon King continued his speech, "All heroes in this generation are dead. Why do you still want to stop me? This world will be mine." Then Tia stood back and said, "Even though all heroes are dead, the Wind Royal Army will not give up. I will not let you become the world leader." Demon King said, "Very troublesome." With one slash, Tia's hand was thrown very fast and at the wall. Demon King said, "You are the #1 mage in the world. Without a hero, you won't be able to attack me. I'll kill this little bug first. Then the Queen of Wind Kingdom will kill you in front of everyone, then your troops will run away." The Demon King looked at Xu Ying. He couldn't move his body. even though he wanted to run, but his body still couldn't move. Although he had gone through hardships and various things in life, but he had never experienced the situation between life and death, because he lived in the era of peace, and the person who was going to kill him was the character he had created. Then he wondered, should I be afraid of him? The Demon King began to attack Xu Yang, and he was bounced back. He was shocked and said, do I avoid him? But he felt pain. It turned out that the Demon King began to attack Xu Yang. But he felt pain. It turned out that one of his legs had been cut off. He cried out in pain. The Demon King spoke to Xu Yang. It's not bad that you can avoid my attacks, but how long can your luck last? Xu Yang felt this pain was so real, and he could not escape from it at all. Tia shouted, stop. He's just a warrior, don't kill him. But the Demon King wanted to kill him. Xu Yang predicted that his next move would definitely be to cut off his head, because that was his hobby and personality that he had made for the Demon King character. Then the Demon King attacked him, but because he already knew his next move, so he could parry his attack using his sword Ash. Tia was surprised that it wasn't Ash's sword. When did he take it? Xu Yang was very lucky that due to his first attack, he was thrown to the side of Ash's sword, and he hit it behind, so that Demon King would not notice. But even though he managed to parry it, the sword was shattered. He was surprised that he had not designed this sword to be as strong as Demon King's sword. Is it because I am too weak that this sword cannot bring out the power of this sword? The Demon King said, looks like your luck has run out. Xu Yang began to panic because he had no plans anymore. He did not want to die. He began to lament his fate. I am a nobody in the real world. Do I have to beg others in this world, even though I myself created this world? Xu Yang shouted loudly because he had no plans anymore. He did not want to die. He began to lament his fate. I am a nobody in the real world. Do I have to beg others in this world, even though I myself created this world? Xu shouted loudly, I created you. Then the Demon King's sword struck her, but nothing happened to her body. Demon King Moriarty began to disappear. Demon King asked Xu Yang, what do you mean? You are our creator. What are you doing to me? It shouldn't be like this. This power shouldn't exist in this world. The Demon King immediately disappeared, but Tia also shouted while asking for help, because she also began to disappear. Xu Yang also shouted, calling her name, but suddenly Tia disappeared completely. She did not accept this. Not only Tia and Moriarty, but Ash's body also disappeared. The entire Demon King city also disappeared. Suddenly a message from the administrator appeared and wrote a message. Because the visitors said the forbidden word high-level comic rating dropped to 0 the world. The hero battles, the Demon King, began to disappear. All characters and places will disappear in 1 minute. All visitors are expected to leave this place quickly. Xu Yang was confused. Tell me how to get out of this place. Then a message appeared and told Xu Yang to press Ctrl plus Q. He was confused. Instead of the button to exit the drawing software, he thought, is it if I press this button, I can get out of this world and return to my home world? He immediately pressed the button, but nothing happened. Then a message appeared that the exit process failed because he had died in the real world due to electric shock. He was shocked. I died from electric shock. So what am I now? Xu Yang's body began to disappear. She panicked and asked the administrator, what will happen if I disappear? Then a message appeared and told her that she would die. She was even more panicked because there was no way to stop this. And suddenly the Ctrl plus Z button appeared, and a message appeared with the words, press this button to reset the entire comic, and then she can rewrite the author's destiny. He was shocked and said, rewrite my destiny. Xu Yang wondered about the message that appeared in front of him. What is meant by rewriting my destiny? The previous message reappeared and told him that he was dead in the real world, and only his soul remained here. If his soul disappeared, then he would also experience total death. Xu Yang began to be afraid, and he was told to press the Ctrl plus D button to reset all the contents of the comic. That way he would also get a new life and his death could be avoided. Xu Yang also asked the administrator, if I reset, will I return to 2022 and have to make this comic again? The administrator also answered true, and after that the contents of the comic that had been read by readers would be replaced with a new version. Xu Yang finally realized that if he could repeat all the contents of the comic, then he could change this comic to be more interesting and could change the comic rating. Xu Yang also recalled all the events that caused him to end up like this, and he was able to conclude that if he could increase his comic rating, then he would still be able to live. The administrator confirmed that, but if he failed to increase his comic rating, then he would experience total death. Xu Yang also asked the administrator, If he was in the comic, how did he know the rating of the comic? The administrator replied that he would show all feedback in the real world in real time, including the number of ratings, likes, favorites, monthly tickets, and comments. As an author, you can use the feedback from readers and decide on the best possible flow, and keep in mind that this comic is the determinant of your life and death. Xu Ying was asked if he agreed to do a reset, and he agreed. Xu Ying is determined that he will make this comic as interesting as possible, and will get out of this comic alive. The button to reset appeared, and there was a message that he could only use the reset button 3 times, and he was only given 5 seconds to press the reset button. While the countdown occurred, Xu Ying strengthened his heart, and said that whatever disaster he will face, as a great author he will always remain calm, and thank all the readers of this comic. Then he pressed the reset button. The rating of the comic was reset to the beginning of 5.0, and automatically the main world would be balanced, and the reset was complete. Xu Ying was called by someone, and he woke up, and when he woke up he was surprised, because the leg that had previously been cut off turned out to be his leg back again. The person who woke him up said that he was worried and scared himself because he was originally fine, but he suddenly fainted. If the slave owners saw this, then they were finished. Xu Ying was shocked that instead of the person in front of him being Uncle Ben, a side character he created, and instead of this scene being in the first chapter of the comic and this place being the Ore Vein Cave where the demonic slave's ore was mined. He concluded that resetting the comic didn't mean he had to redraw it, but he had to directly intervene in the comic. He also felt unlucky because he became a slave just like Ash. The slave owner named Kranz Ricky also appeared and scolded the slaves there. Then Uncle Ben explained to the owner that there was a child who fainted, so they stopped working for a while. Mr. Ricky answered calmly, but when Uncle Ben was thanking him, the slave owner hit Uncle Ben hard, and he fell unconscious. Xu Ying immediately shouted for Uncle Ben. The slave owner punished them by giving orders to find twice as much ore, or their hands would both be cut off and turned into beast food. Xu Ying felt very unlucky. Forget about increasing comic ratings. If he didn't find a solution to this situation, he wouldn't be able to get out of this cave alive. He began to work hard to find ore, while thinking about how sad his life was. He was enslaved by the characters he created himself. Uncle Ben also apologized to Xu Ying for involving him. He replied to just rest because he was still okay. But in fact he was not very okay. He used to work on the computer, and now he had to mine ore. It was too much for his own body. Xu Ying also asked Uncle Ben about Ash's whereabouts, but Uncle Ben had never heard of someone by the name of Ash here. Xu Ying felt confused because the person he asked was the one who witnessed how Ash grew up, and Ash was also the protagonist or MC in this comic. How could he not be here? Then the administrator looked for a character named Ash, but the character Ash was not here, and the name of the protagonist in this comic was Xu Bingsu. She felt very confused. What is this nonsense? Why am I the protagonist in this comic? He almost said the forbidden word again. Fortunately, he remembered it so that he did not repeat the same mistake again. Uncle Ben felt strange about Xu Ying. Why did she become like this after waking up? And Uncle Ben must not have been able to see this window system, so he must have thought Xu Ying was crazy for talking to herself. Suddenly a message popped up telling him that he could hear or see his thoughts. She asked the system if there was some kind of narration box where she could write down what she was thinking. Then the system replied, "Yes," he said, "crazy. It seems like I'm really in the comic." Then after that there was an explosion right in front of Xu Ying. Uncle Ben was very surprised and said, "Why are there so many strange things happening today?" Xu Ying also saw the hole in front of him, and he remembered that this incident did not happen when there was an earthquake, and Ash fell and awakened his abilities. Then went on an adventure, and what was originally a slave then became a hero. He also felt confused as to why this had happened. Was it because his actions were different from Ash's causing the plot to change and causing this to happen earlier? Then a message from the system appeared and told him that he had to be careful in acting because it could affect the storyline that would occur. Because Xu Ying is a protagonist, he must make his first chapter as interesting as possible. Because the beginning of the chapter is the determinant of whether readers will continue to read this comic or not. Xu Ying also told Uncle Ben that he would enter the hole and told him that if he did not return within 12 hours then he was dead. But if he managed to return, then he did not have to mine ore again. Uncle Ben was confused by what Xu Ying was talking about. But soon, Xu Ying jumped down, and he began to say in his heart, "I am the author who is the protagonist in this comic. And if he can increase his rating he will live, and if not he will die. This is very thrilling." and the scene also shows Ash lying floating somewhere. Xu Yang plunged into the underground magic crystal mine, or called the No Man's Land. The place was so deep and Xu Yang was very panicked. Fortunately, when he almost reached the bottom, he fell on a large slime, and after that the slime vomited him from his body and left. There was a pickaxe in front of Xu Yang. He then picked up the pickaxe and felt grateful. Fortunately, the pickaxe fell with him so that he could mine all the magic crystals in that place. Magic crystal is very important in this world. It can power many magic mechanics, just like oil in the real world, and it is also very useful for mages. Magic crystal can be used as a trading tool, and the more people have this thing, the more authoritative it will look. Then after the Demon King rose again, magic crystal would be very helpful in the future, so preparing more would be very helpful for the future. When he was mining, suddenly 3 monsters called scavenger beasts appeared chasing him. In the original comic, Ash fought with the beast using the power he got from working for 10 years as a slave, while Xu Yang was just a weak author. If he fought then, he would die immediately. He also tried to keep his distance from the monster, but the monster clawed his back and he was immediately thrown forward. He did not expect that the monster moved so fast. He could not be caught by the monster, otherwise he would become food for the monsters. He also said that he would not give up because as an author he knew this monster better than Ash. After that, he immediately threw balls into the mouths of the monsters. Then the mouths of the monsters were burned. Xu Yang immediately rushed to the monster and hit the monster with a pickaxe. The monster had a weakness, which was fresh food. And what he threw was a piece of bread, and it caused the monster's throats to explode. Xu Yang's skill panel appeared, and there he had 6 skill points and 3 bonus points for doing an instant kill on the previous monster. Xu Yang was surprised because his strength was only -1. Then the system detected that the system he had was low level. The administrator changed the system to the Pro version hero skill panel, so that Xu Yang can distribute his skill points manually. Then Xu Yang also asked the administrator to add 4 points to his strength. He felt stronger. Previously he had to use all his strength to lift the pickaxe, but now he only felt like he was welding a pen. He also added 4 points to his agility, and used another 1 point in mana. As he had increased his magic from 0 to 1, it made him a person who could use magic. Xu Yang ordered the administrator to open the backpack and started mining again. He mined the place quickly, and he managed to collect all the 25 tons of high-tier magic crystals there. He felt exhausted, and he wondered if he was overdoing it, because Ash had only taken 1 ton of magic crystals. He saw a shining place in this cave, because there were many magic crystals before, so he didn't see a place like that. He approached the place and he saw a thin layer in front of him. He held the layer, and it was very similar to a barrier. The system also told him that the barrier was created by himself. He was surprised because, why don't I remember making a barrier like this? Then he asked the system if he could open the barrier. The system replied that it could be opened by the creator himself without certain conditions. Then the barrier was opened. When he entered there, he didn't see anything here, but not long after that a very large monster named Subterranean King appeared. He was very surprised why the monster was here. It turned out that it was a concept that he had thrown away, but even though it had been thrown away, it would still be there and would be covered by a barrier. Then a message from the system appeared and gave him a mission to kill the Subterranean King. Xu Yang felt shocked. Are you kidding? Killing that thing is impossible at this early stage. A message popped up telling her that if she gave up on this mission, then the comic's ratings would fall. The monster attacked him, but he managed to dodge the attack, and the monster continued its attack by releasing a bright light from its forehead. In the past, Xu Yang drew the monster with an amazingly great concept. The monster had great strength, unreasonable agility, and even more amazingly, the monster could shoot a magic laser from its forehead, and surely an Ash would have difficulty finding it. Xu Yang was very sorry for making a monster like this, and the monster shot a magic laser from his forehead and caused a huge explosion. The cave caught fire, and Xu Yang survived the attack, but he was buried by the debris of the cave. After he was free from the debris, Xu Yang was caught by the monster. He was in pain because the monster's grip was very strong. The ribs were all broken, and the monster looked very happy to see Xu Yang in pain. Xu Yang thought, does the monster want revenge on its creator for deleting him and locking him up here? Xu Yang also asked the administrator to reset the comic, but the system replied to him and said that he was not yet eligible to reset. He thought very hard. He was still at the beginning of the comic, and he didn't have any items or friends that could help him. Judging from his stats, he wouldn't be able to escape the monster's grip. Could he just give up? The system told her, "Why don't you look at the items you have first?" Su Ying also remembered that she had a lot of magic crystals, so she asked the administrator to take out all her magic crystals and throw them all at the Monster King. The monster began to be crushed by the magic crystal, and Su Ying began to break free from the monster's grasp, but if he fell from such a high distance he would die. But with all his agility stat, he tried hard to use the magic crystal as his foothold, and he managed to get down safely. Not long after that, it turned out that the monster survived his attack. Su Ying felt very desperate. The scene moved to Uncle Ben, who was being tied up by the slave owner, that he was asked to tell where Su Ying was. If not, he will be killed by the slave owner. Uncle Ben said in his heart, if he tells where Su Ying is, then they will definitely close the hole and Su Ying will not be able to come back. Uncle Ben spat at the slave owner and said, "Get lost." The slave owner got angry and cast electric magic on him. Uncle Ben gave up and he said that he would tell him, and the slave owner stopped his attack. But Uncle Ben's answer was a mocking sentence and told him that his hair is like a big pile of tie. The slave owner became very angry. He started to bring out his electric magic again and tried to punch Uncle Ben. But soon Su Ying appeared and stopped the electric fist from the slave owner, and Su Ying apologized to Uncle Ben for being a little late. The slave owner said to Su Ying, "Good boy, you came back by yourself. Are your hands ready for me to cut off and be eaten by monsters?" Su Ying was so amused by Richie the slave owner's words that even the readers called Richie a chunibyo, or a very idiot. Richie said to Su Ying, "You should feel honored to be killed by me." Then he pulled out a skill called Slave Chain Restrict. Su Ying was hit by the attack and was wrapped by the chain from the attack. Uncle Ben panicked seeing Su Ying's condition. Richie said, "Do you know why I learned electricity magic?" Then he answered, "Because this magic is the most effective to punish slaves." And electricity began to strike Su Ying. But despite being struck by a huge electricity, Su Ying looked fine. Richie was very surprised to see it. Su Ying was equally surprised. He did not expect after he defeated the subterranean king, he became very strong. The scene returned to Su Ying, who was facing the subterranean king. After he failed to kill the monster, he ran while avoiding the monster's attacks. Su Ying felt very confused because he had no other way to deal with such a monster. Just being able to be free from the monster's grasp was already a miracle for him. When he was thinking the monster attacked him again, Su Ying managed to dodge the attack. He also ran in the hands of the monster. Su Ying had previously given one skill point to his manon, and that was enough so that he could use magic. The requirements for using magic spells are having enough mana and reading spells. But because he is the creator of this comics, so he knows all the spells in this world. And the spell that requires 1 mana is the explosion spell. Su Ying also jumped from the monster's hand and hung above. While saying the spell, then he released his magic and exploded 25 tons of magic crystal. Because of his attack, the monster was finally killed. It also gained 50 skill points and received a special gift in the form of recovery of all the wounds he had. After successfully killing the monster, Su Ying became stronger than Ash. Previously, Ash had to risk his life to fight Richie. But for him now, it will be very easy. Because Su Ying had previously broken the chain that bound him, Richie's hand was injured. Richie insulted him while saying he would kill him. But very quickly, Su Ying beat Richie's face, and he bounced very fast, crashing into his soldiers behind. Uncle Ben was very surprised that he could knock them all down with just one blow. Su Ying's slave necklace suddenly glowed, and Richie said that as long as the slave contract is still there, you can't do anything and you will forever be my slave. Su Ying just stood still and ignored him. He stood in front of the wall and hit the wall, and inside was a slave contract. Richie was very surprised. How could she know the contract was there? Of course he knew because he was the creator of his own comic. Su Ying said, "You should be grateful to him because, if he was Ash, he would have tortured you to tell him where he had the contract." After that, he burned all the slave contracts and told everyone that they were now free. The slave chains began to fall off of all of them. Everyone discussed how they could build their own village after getting out of this place. They would definitely force Richie and his group to work on rebuilding the village, and Uncle Ben was elected as the village chief. In the original comic, Ash and the slaves fought with Richie's group and many died in the fight. Su Ying thought, is he better than Ash? Finally, after a long time, he and the slaves were able to get out of the cave and could see the sunlight. There was only 1 month left until the Demon King was free from his seal. In the original comics, after the Demon King came, Ash and the other lands would be shocked. But since he knew what would happen, he would not let it happen. But he must not act rashly because it would lead to his death. Su Yang felt he had to understand himself better first, and he opened his status panel. Previously, he still had 50 skill points that had not been distributed. He also used 30 skill points to strengthen his body and left the rest for emergencies. Su Yang felt that the information about him was still too little, but he realized that there was a button to go to the next page. So he asked the administrator to change the page. There were the reactions of the readers and the number of chapters he had made. If he had just made 2 chapters and Chapter 2 had more likes and favorites than Chapter 1. Because he managed to kill the subterranean king, who was an enemy that Ash could never kill, he got recognition from the readers. Su Yang did not expect that the monsters he had removed could help him to increase his comic rating. He became more confident that he would make this comic better than before. The system also tells him that he has a skill diagram on page 3. And there it is explained that the number of favorites and likes can be used to unlock skills. CTRL plus Q and CTRL plus C are the default skills he already has as an author. So as long as he can increase the number of readers and the number of favorites, he can unlock skills and become very strong or overpowered. 2 days later, the Wind Kingdom will officially hold conscription, and in the original comic, Ash is a person who participates in conscription, so Su Yang will also join the conscription, and of course, by joining the conscription, he can see the female protagonist there, Princess Tia. Su Yang plans to gain the trust of the Wind Kingdom and Princess Tia. But it won't be easy because Princess Tia is a person who doesn't respect the world she lives in. But he and Ash are different people. His thoughts are different. His strength is different. Even he has a skill that only Arthur has. So instead of waiting for Demon King Moriarty to rise, it would be better if he killed him while he was still sealed. He is also looking forward to when the final boss is gone. What will happen later? At the same time in the Wind Kingdom, Prince Belids, who is the elder brother, Prince Belcody Gautier, who is Tia's younger brother, and Princess Belicia Gautier were asked to attend the enrollment ceremony, and King Gautier, who is their father, allowed them all to attend the ceremony. But Prince Lods said that he could not attend the ceremony because he had to lead the troops to kill the magical beast. Prince Cody also suggested sending Princess Tia alone because she had more time than them, especially for the princess who was about to get married, to show her face to the public so that she could get more support. Princess Tia, who heard that remark, also said with emotion, "You son of a bitch, stop saying things like that." That after that, she spoke to her father that she would not follow the ceremony either. 1 month from now, the seal of Demon King Moriarty will be released, and it causes all monsters in this part of the world to go crazy and attacks from monsters to increase. The threat at that time was at the disaster level. Then the King of Wind Kingdom immediately formed an army of volunteers to help overcome the disaster, and Su Yang would use the opportunity to approach the royal family. Francis, a middle-rank commander, told everyone that this disaster was very dangerous, but for all of them, this could be used as an opportunity. He told them that you lowly people should be proud to go to the Wind Kingdom. Su Yang explained that in the original comic, Francis was a cunning, deceitful person and did not care about human life. If there were subordinates who opposed him, he would immediately kill his subordinates. Ash once made Francis angry, and it almost got him killed during the registration ceremony. Su Yang thought that he should not be like Ash. He wanted to control the situation well and create a favorable storyline for himself. He planned to beat Francis at the enrollment ceremony to get Tia's attention. That way, he would have a chance to get closer to the Wind Kingdom. Commander Francis asked them all to board the ship, and after they all boarded, the ship took off in a flash. Su Yang, even though as an author he felt very amazed that the ship he drew himself could fly like this. Not long after that, a soldier came to Su Yang's room, and he told him that this time there were too many people signed up, and they were having trouble managing them, so they would divide them into 4 groups and choose a captain in each group. Then each captain would report the situation of his team to the superiors. Then Su Yang was called by the soldiers. With a look of condescension, they said that now he was in his group, and they were preparing for the meeting, so please wait for a while. Su Yang had made the same decision as Ash. Even the group dormitory was the same, so he already knew what would happen in the future, and he would easily follow the storyline while changing the parts that were not exciting. The soldier who previously called Su Yang said that he should be more relaxed and alert. If he hears things he shouldn't hear, it's better to keep his mouth shut, that way they will be able to get along. Su Yang also said in his heart, even if he didn't tell him, that he already knew it because he made him say that, actually those soldiers are magic stone thieves. They entered the military in order to steal magic stone in the military camp. They in the original comic threatened Ash because they were afraid Ash would leak what they did. But Ash fought with the three of them and was caught by Francis and considered Ash their accomplice. Francis then sentenced them to a duel to the death, but until the duel ended, Ash did not kill them even though he had won the match, and that made Francis angry. It made the three soldiers die, and Francis wanted to kill Ash too because he had defied his orders, but fortunately Tia told them to stop, otherwise Ash would have died. Su Ying thought that if she wanted to get close to the Wirt family, she should think about her move carefully. First, she must not follow the flow of the original comic and must not clash with the three of them. She must focus her attention on Francis. In the original comic, many readers were disappointed that Ash couldn't defeat Francis, which made Su Ying think that readers like versatile protagonists, so she would rely on her own abilities and make this comic more interesting. Suddenly the system gave him a limited mission, telling him to be the boss of the three. He had already thought about it, but the time given by the mission was 10 seconds. He was shocked because how could he complete the mission with only 10 seconds? While the time counted down, Su Ying was called by the three people, but because he was panicking and uttering unclear sentences to them. The three people were confused by Su Ying's words, because time was running out. With a serious face and fast movements, he tried to beat them while saying, "I beg you, let me be your boss." They replied back. They replied with, "Is that what you call begging?" Then they were all knocked down by Su Ying and bounced out. Su Ying forgot that she was still in the air, and she rushed to hold the hand of one of them, and the other was hanging on her friend's leg. There were only 4 seconds left. If they fell down, then this would all be chaotic. The person Su Ying held his hand begged to pull them up, and they would do anything. Then Su Ying also asked them to call him boss. Just when there was 1 second left, they all called Su Ying boss, and the mission was completed. He was rewarded with 10 skill points and 13 positive reviews from the readers. From the ship's tow, they were given an announcement that soon they would reach the Wind Kingdom, and were asked to leave the cabin with their group. Because Su Ying had become the boss, the three of them became very kind to Su Ying. The three of them said that from now on he would be willing to follow him. The three of them were Mark brothers, and had the nicknames Mark 1, 2, and 3. Commander Francis appeared and asked them what was going on here. Because there were fist marks on their chests, Francis already knew that someone was making trouble on this ship. Su Ying thought that if they were all punished, then he would not be able to change the storyline. Su Ying raised his hand and said that he was the cause, but before Su Ying's words were finished, the three of them immediately defended Su Ying, and said that it was the three of them fighting and had nothing to do with Su Ying. Su Ying was surprised why they were defending him. This was tantamount to inviting death. Then Su Ying remembered that he was the one who made them have a loyal nature. Francis also said that in the registration ceremony there is a tradition that if they want to fight, then it is better to fight to the death. Su Ying panicked because if this happened, then this incident was no different from the original comic. He rushed to do something and tried to beat Francis. But Su Ying's fist was easily blocked, and Francis said he just wanted to fulfill their wishes. "If you want to die, let's tell me what kind of death you want." Su Ying was happy that he finally realized himself. Su Ying said that he wanted to officially fight with him at this year's registration ceremony, and he was willing to fight to the death in the arena. The Mark brothers were shocked that he was challenging a mid-rank commander. With his powerful killing aura, Commander Francis was intrigued by Su Ying's challenge, and he was willing to fight him at the enlistment ceremony. While enduring the aura, Su Ying smiled and said, "Gotcha." Their ship finally arrived at the Wind Kingdom. There was an announcement from Hubert, the chief steward of the kingdom, telling the citizens to come to the registration ceremony, and members of the royal family would also attend the ceremony. The citizens wondered who the royal family would attend this ceremony. And one of the citizens replied, "Who else? Surely that useless princess will attend," and they laughed at that answer. The scene went straight to Su Ying, who was in the battle arena. She was thinking of ways to defeat Francis, because this battle would be difficult due to their huge power gap. So she had to prepare a plan so that everything could go well. The registration ceremony was officially opened, and there was a welcome for Princess Tia, and she was going to make a speech. Su Ying was happy that he finally met Tia, and he promised that the previous thing would not happen again. There Tia gave thanks to the citizens who had dared to fight the monsters. While giving a speech, she muttered in her heart and said, "Dan, I didn't want to be here." The scene returned to when Tia refused to attend the registration ceremony. Tia, who refused to attend, was given an explanation by her father that she had to attend the ceremony because your other siblings had more important problems than the ceremony, so you had to attend the event. Then Tia also wanted to give an explanation, but her father firmly replied that she had to attend the ceremony. Tia also said in her heart, why doesn't anyone understand her? Everyone who saw her was always compared to her brother who was more talented than her. Many people said that she was a useless princess, and they said just try a little. But Tia thought that even if she tried, no one would see her efforts. While crying, she said that she also really wanted to be like her brother, do things for her country, and make everyone proud of her. The scene returned to Tia, who was reading the speech she had written in her hand. She said, with everyone participating, we will definitely win against this disaster. Tia was relieved that she had finished her business and she was about to leave. When she wanted to leave, Commander Francis asked her to wait, because he wanted to report something. Francis pointed at Xu Yang and said that she was the one who broke the military order and challenged him. Francis proposed a duel between him and Xu Yang, and he continued that this fight could set an example of discipline for the new recruits, and this duel could liven up the atmosphere at the enlistment ceremony. Smiling, Tia refused the duel and said to herself, old man, he must just want to show off. Commander Francis replied, fine. But Xu Yang could not give up this opportunity. When Princess Tia said goodbye to leave, Xu Yang said, well, it's a pity that this is such a rare opportunity. The princess must have an important matter to attend. I wonder if you want to join Prince Lodz in his military operation or join Prince Cody's seminar? Princess Tia stopped, and she was shocked. How does she know that? When the Lodz and Cody assignments have not been made public, who is she? Tai replied that she had no such interest. Xu Yang was proud that the female protagonist of the comic didn't lie to get away with it. Xu Yang continued, if you don't have that kind of interest, why don't you watch the match between me and Francis? Tai replied, Sir Francis, I think you're right. This guy is arrogant and has no respect for others. I hope you can find out the origin of this person. Muttering to herself, Princess Tia said, damn him, he's a pain in the ass. Xu Yang replied to Princess Tia's words, saying she was a nobody. She was just a despicable minor who hoped to die with honor in the battle arena. Since Tia did not fall for his trick, she took out her main card and said, at least it's better than being a useless princess. Tia was angered by Xu Yang's words. Francis said in his heart, does this boy not understand the consequences of offending the royal family? The person who dares to do this must be a fool or an extraordinary person. Francis began to suspect whether Xu Yang was someone with a prestigious background, or was he just pretending? Tai replied, well, if you want to die, then I'll grant it. She said, let's see what you can do. Xu Yang felt guilty for hurting Tia's feelings, but if he didn't say that, then he couldn't attract her attention and keep the princess royal here. Since this had happened, Francis would have been more cautious of her, and because of his caution he would have suspected that I had a strong background. But with that, he would have had a chance to defeat her. Then they were told to enter the arena, and the arena was surrounded by sparkling light. Francis insulted Xu Yang, and he said to be fair he will explain what this is. But Xu Yang replied that he already knew the shimmering light around him was the barrier, and they wouldn't be able to get out until the winner was found. Francis replied that it seemed like he had knowledge too, but it was useless. With one attack the barrier will open. Then Princess Tia said, let's start the duel. When the duel started, Francis quickly attacked Xu Yang, but fortunately he was able to parry the attack. Xu Yang, while sweating from the attack, said, is this the attack that you said would kill me in one hit? But actually the attack almost shattered the bones in his hand. Francis replied, you arrogant bastard. He was shocked because the attack shouldn't be able to be withstood by him. Was he hiding his strength? The attack continued and caused both of them to bounce back. The soldiers outside were amazed at Xu Yang for being able to withstand Sir Francis' attack, and said that she was at least as strong as a captain. The other soldiers also cheered Xu Yang and said that he was amazing. Francis was also annoyed by the cheers admiring trash like him. After coming down from here, he would definitely dismember them. But Xu Yang replied that it won't happen, because the one who will come out of this barrier is me. As the fight continued, Xu Yang, who was hit by Francis' attack, was sent flying backwards, and she realized that this was not just a difference in strength, but her fighting experience was far greater than his. Francis said, let's see how long you can last. Xu Yang provoked him and said that she was the one who couldn't hold out against him. Francis was angered and quickly wanted to continue his attack. Xu Yang was in a panic, because she didn't know which direction her attack would come from. The scene changed to Xu Yang playing the game in the past. She was amazed by the game, and the knight character, there was a perfect attack for Francis to use. Then, when the scene returned to the battle, Xu Yang was able to dodge Francis' attack, But the attack created a strong wind. Even just the wind from the sword could hurt Xu Ying's face. Francis was surprised that she was able to dodge his attack. Xu Ying continued to provoke Francis, and said, "Not bad, keep attacking well like that." An emotionally charged Francis continued his attack, but Xu Ying was able to dodge the attack again. Francis was surprised why she was able to dodge again. Then, shortly afterwards, Xu Ying countered his attack, but it was blocked by his hand very easily. Xu Ying thought that he had to finish this match immediately. Otherwise, the possibility of him getting killed would be very high. Xu Ying continued to provoke him, but the attack this time was able to flag Xu Ying, and he was in great pain from the attack. Francis approached Xu Ying, and he said, "You are not as strong as I thought." And while shouting loudly, he said, "Everyone look. This is the result of challenging myself and the Wind Kingdom." Then with all his might Sir Francis slashed at Xu Ying, and said, "Die." Francis also said in his heart, "That's it. The speech I gave earlier will definitely increase his rank and status." But he wondered why the barrier hadn't opened yet. Isn't the match already over? But unexpectedly, Xu Ying quickly came and hit Francis with her fist. Then Francis was bounced off and hit the barrier until it cracked. Everyone was shocked, and the Mark brothers said the boss was a very strong man. Francis was surprised how could the boy's strength increase. It turned out that Xu Ying had 20 skill points that he hadn't used, and he distributed them all to his strength. Xu Ying started his speech and said he was an ordinary miner. He wanted to serve his country, and that's why he joined the army as a volunteer. But because of a trivial matter, Sir Francis got angry with him. "I didn't come here to just die. I want to stand on the battlefield and kill monsters." He also asked to encourage him and cheer for him. The citizens wondered why a person who was in a fight to the death would ask to cheer for him. But they felt that it was fine as long as it was fun to watch, especially a new member who could fly a mid-rank knight. He was extraordinary. Then the audience cheered for her to kill Sir Francis immediately. Princess Tia became confused as to why the citizens were cheering for Xu Ying and instead lowering Sir Francis' reputation. Francis said that these idiots, I didn't expect them to cheer for a low-rank warrior. He became angry, and he entered berserk mode. In this state, his strength would increase twice, and he would attack anyone who had enmity with him. Xu Ying had been waiting for this moment. Earlier on the ship he tried to beat Francis up, not only so that he could challenge him, but it was so that Francis could measure his strength level. Francis was very paranoid, so he wouldn't accept a challenge unless he was sure he could win. Xu Ying's poor attitude towards work would make the confident Francis angry, and with his reputation already down it, caused him to change to berserk mode. That way, rather than him, Francis would attack. Xu Ying placed the Mark brothers outside and told them to continue taunting Francis. Because he was provoked by the taunts, Francis, who had lost his mind, broke through the barrier. It caused the barrier's defenses to activate, and it would catch anyone who tried to break out of the barrier by force. Xu Ying was actually unable to defeat Francis, but since he had already walked into Xu Ying's trap, Francis would become very easy to hunt down for him. Xu Ying, who saw that Francis was bound by the barrier, tried to use the opportunity to attack, and he quickly beheaded Sir Francis. Everyone was shocked to see that, and the match was over. All the soldiers cheered him as the strongest new member. Xu Ying didn't expect that he would get this kind of development. The system also gave him the title the strongest new recruit, and he also got a 30-point skill reward. And he also got a new author's skill. He got the CTRL plus S skill. Using likes from readers, the skill can make himself get protection and make all attacks useless. Then he also got the CTRL plus A skill. Using likes from readers, the skill can make him temporarily invisible, and at the end he got an unknown unique gift. Xu Ying was happy with the gift he received, but suddenly the king appeared. He said that this country has a talented person, a new member who defeated a mid-rank knight. It is unprecedented. And the result of the battle was very surprising. Xu Ying replied, "Is His Majesty worried that if the volunteers don't have a leader, it will be difficult to make them obey?" The king replied, "That's right. He was actually planning to make Sir Francis the leader of the volunteer army and help Prince Lodz to kill the monsters on the front line. But since he died because of Xu Ying, he appointed Xu Ying to be the temporary leader and replace Sir Francis." Xu Ying said that he was just a new member. He was afraid that the volunteer army would not obey him and asked to find another replacement. But unexpectedly, Princess Tia asked for herself to be appointed as the troop leader. Tia thought that she should take this opportunity so that she would not be called a useless princess again. Xu Ying also agreed with it, Because Princess Tia had the blood of a noble, the position was more suitable than herself. The king asked his daughter, "Are you sure?" And she nervously replied that she was sure and that she would not fail, and the king proudly appointed her as the new commander of the volunteer army. But because Su Ying was strong enough, the king gave him the task of protecting the princess. Su Ying was happy because he could make the plot his own, and he finally had a chance to get close to Tia. As the registration ceremony came to an end, Tia asked Su Ying, did he already know that this was going to happen? That's why you're insisting on finding Sir Francis. Who are you? Su Ying replied that he was just an ordinary miner. Princess Tia didn't care about his motives, but because of him she was able to realize her dreams, so she was indebted to Su Ying, and on the battlefield, Princess Tia asked him to take care of her. As the author of her own comic, she knows Tia very well. She is a very arrogant and loser. Therefore, if she wanted to get Tia out of her prison, instead of helping her open the door, it would be better if she let Tia do it herself. Time turned to night, and Su Ying was at the volunteer army camp. There he was praised by Mark Beresodera for obtaining lieutenant's special rank armor, enchanted care alloy longsword, and low-rank yellow magic stone. After he saw his new equipment in front of the glass, he immediately opened his status. There he had 28 strength, but Su Ying felt that his strength was still too low when compared to Laud's. He also said, if he wants to kill the Demon King, then he must try harder. Su Ying also asked the Mark brothers to check the battle report sent to them. In the report it was written that Prince Laud's and the others were in the monster nest in the southwest area, and were tasked with defeating the undead army of one necromancer. There were so many of them and they were so hard to kill. The Mark brothers who read the report were terrified. Su Ying also thought that the undead were not a big problem. The problem was the troops from other countries. They pretended to cooperate in defeating the monsters, but they actually wanted to take the magic stone from the undead king necromancer. The magic stone was so powerful that it could control death. Su Ying thought that if he could get the stone, then he would be more confident when fighting with the Demon King. So now, Su Ying's priority is to help Laud's fight the undead and get the magic stone before someone else takes it. Back in Skeletal Canyon, Su Ying ordered the Mark brothers to prepare the things he had written quickly. They protested why they had to do something like this in the middle of the night. The scene goes to the battle between Prince Laud's and the undead. Prince Laud's was told to rest by Nold, a commander from the Steam Kingdom. But Prince Laud's said that it was not necessary, because everyone knew what the Steam Kingdom was planning. Nold replied, since the prince already knew, then he would compete fairly with him. Prince Laud's replied, try it. The scene moved to Princess Tia leading the troops. There she was in front of Skeletal Canyon. She ordered them to prepare themselves. But Lieutenant General Dolores replied that it should be the princess who should prepare herself, as she had never been on the battlefield before. Lieutenant General Ayla also asked the princess to stay behind them, because she was a very important person. If she got hurt, they wouldn't be able to hold her accountable. Princess Tia replied, that's not necessary, let's continue. Su Ying, who was already a lieutenant general, said in his heart that Princess Tia, who was often considered useless by others, had little choice but to show that she was useful. Her competitive spirit would help her to improve, but it would also cause her misfortune. In the end, Su Ying had to protect her as well. The system gave him the mission to kill the Skeleton King and obtain the Necromancer's magic stone, and the comic rating would be published after the Skeleton Canyon chapter ended. Su Ying thinks that this is not easy, because there are 4 levels, and each level has many mobs and 1 mini-boss, and each mini-boss will get stronger as the level increases. Then at level 4 he will face the Skeleton King. Su Ying felt that he would not be able to defeat the Skeletal King, so he had to kill the mobs and increase his level there. He also had to collect characters that would help him defeat the Skeleton King. They entered the Skeleton Canyon. After entering the cave, Su Ying tried to find the entrance, but while he was looking, there was one skeleton that tried to attack Princess Tia. Su Ying immediately rushed to protect Tia. Princess Tia became panicked, because instead of her siblings cleaning the entrance area, why are there still monsters alive? Su Ying explained that only people who had the magic stone necromancer could kill the creatures, otherwise they would still rise again. Princess Tia also planned to freeze them all, after which Su Ying immediately slashed all the joints in the monster. The previous lieutenant generals praised the 2 of them for working well together, but they also mocked Princess Tia because she was still the rumored useless princess. Princess Tia immediately took out her magic. Su Ying panicked because Tia became angry. She tried to calm herself down, But her magic was already heading for the two lieutenant generals, and it turned out that Princess Tia directed her magic at the monster behind the lieutenant generals, and managed to freeze the monster. Princess Tia replied, "Don't underestimate him." Chu Ying was proud of Tia, and said to the lieutenant generals, shouldn't they be thanking Princess Tia? They immediately said thank you while showing their embarrassed faces. Princess Tia also thanked Xu Ying for saving her before. Xu Ying replied it doesn't matter because it's her responsibility. Princess Tia asked why she knew that only people with the necromancer's magic stone could kill undead completely. Even she herself does not have such information. Xu Ying became confused, but Princess Tia did not press him, and said to forget about his question, and invited him to continue this journey. Then the system appeared and told her that every undead she killed, she would get 1 skill point. Inside Skeletal Canyon, they were attacked by many undead. They were almost desperate because the number of undead was increasing. But they still had hope in Princess Tia. She had ice magic, and finally they could consider Princess Tia as a reliable person. Thanks to that magic, the undead can freeze instantly and can stop their movement. After they defeated the undead, they continued their journey, but in front of them there was a forked road. Lieutenant General Ayla asked, "Which way are we going to take?" Then the princess replied that the right path was on the left, because there were traces of a battle that seemed to be the former battle of her brother. But Xu Ying asked them to split up, and she would head to the left path with the princess and the others to the right. Lieutenant General Dolores protested why they had to split up, even though they already knew which path was the right one. Since Xu Ying had more information about the cave, Princess Tia agreed with Xu Ying's decision. Xu Ying was also happy that his plan could go smoothly, before he leaked information to Princess Tia, so that she could be suspicious of him, and make Princess Tia think that he had a special reason for choosing the right path. Xu Ying thought, by taking a separate path, can we defeat the mini-boss skeleton general in this level? Otherwise, with the weapons he's holding, it's impossible for us to defeat him. They immediately continued their journey by taking a separate path. On the right path, Princess Tia asked Xu Ying why, since they entered this tunnel, they hadn't met any monsters, even though they had been walking for quite a while. After resuming their journey, they found large empty caves. Princess Tia again asked, "What do you think, Lieutenant Xu?" Chu Ying explained the undead were created from humans. Even though they are monsters, they still have a human-like lifestyle, and these large empty caves must be where the undead live. But because of the attack by Prince Lodz and their invasion, all the undead have left their territory. Princess Tia replied that it made sense, and she said to Xu Ying, so he meant to take the right path to avoid the battle since he already knew everything. Xu Ying replied that why would she avoid a fight? Then Princess Tia continued, just like before, Lieutenant Xu knows things that no one else knows, and she is always calm in the face of any situation, as if she already knows what will happen. Xu Ying's body trembled, and she said in her heart that now she is not calm, and she wondered why it still hadn't come out. Then suddenly, one of the caves gave off light. It turned out that there were undead coming out of the portal, and the undead said finally all the troops have left. It's time to clean up. But the undead was surprised why there were still humans here. Then Xu Ying planned to catch the undead and tried to chase it. But the undead went back into the portal, and suddenly Xu Ying and Princess Tia just disappeared. The soldiers who followed them both rushed to report this to Lieutenant Dolores. The two of them apparently entered the portal following the undead. Princess Tia was in pain because she hit her head, and Xu Ying was in front of the undead. The undead begged not to be killed because he was just a cleaner. Xu Ying said that he couldn't kill him anyway, and it was okay that he wouldn't bother him. But we could offer him some help. Xu Ying explained that it wasn't just the soldiers that were resurrected, but the Skeleton King also resurrected ordinary people as well. They had a low rank, and they also couldn't walk in ordinary tunnels. They could only use the purple portal called Narrow. They used that to move around after completing their cleaning tasks. Although they couldn't move to other levels, but they could go anywhere in this level. After Xu Ying offered to help, the undead asked, "Can you really help me leave this place?" The undead told the story of his life, who had been doing cleaning duties for 135 years, and he was always tortured and humiliated by the skeleton warriors here, although he wanted to commit suicide and escape from here. But he could not do that because of the restraints of the Skeleton King. Xu Ying also said that he knows how hard your life is here. Princess Tia, who heard the story, cried, and she said, "Take it easy. She will help him get out of here." Xu Ying said in his heart, "Wait, princess, I haven't even said the conditions." Then Su Ying gave his conditions that he would help her if he could take her to a certain place. On the other side, the soldiers were struggling against the skeleton general who was the mini-boss in level 1. The battle continued. Lieutenant Ayla tried to attack the undead, but she was easily bounced off by the shield of the skeleton general. They'd also tried to attack using magic, but the magic attack did not work on the skeleton general. Lieutenant Durolz felt that the shield used by the undead felt familiar. There used to be a general in the West who was proficient in defense. It was said that his shield was almost never penetrated. The shield could protect him from both physical and magical attacks. He waited for his enemy to run out of stamina, then he killed him. Durolz thought, could he be the one who was resurrected by the Skeleton King? He must have retained the same fighting style as when he was a human. Dolores was confused on how to defeat such a monster. Then suddenly Su Ying appeared from behind the skeleton general with Princess Tia and skeleton cleaning using Nero. Previously, Su Ying explained that the skeleton general at level 1 was a general named Monty. He had a very strong defense and direct attacks would not work on him. Princess Tia shouted to Su Ying, "I was right. You know all the things I don't know." Princess Tia was annoyed that he ignored her and went on with his words. Su Ying said that the only way to win was to attack her from 2 different sides. Su Ying asked for the skeleton's name, and it was Wally. Su Ying asked Wally to take him behind the skeleton general. Su Ying thought, if he can utilize Tia effectively, he can turn the situation around. The scene returned to the battle. Dolores attacked the skeleton from the front, and the skeleton blocked her attack using its shield. Su Ying tried to use the opportunity and ordered the princess to use her magic. Princess Tia thought that she was the commander. Then Princess Tia took out her ice magic, and her attack managed to freeze the skeleton's shield. Su Ying immediately rushed to attack, and with one slash she cut off the skeleton's hand. Lieutenant Ayla was shocked. Where did he come from? Lieutenant Dolores irritably said, so Su Ying's intention of dividing into 2 groups is so that he can be used as a sacrifice, and he can attack secretly. Su Ying said, what are you waiting for? The shield is down. Hurry up and attack him. But Su Ying felt something was wrong with the skeleton. The sword held by the skeleton had a green crystal. Su Ying also recalled that when he drew the skeleton's weapon, he put a paralysis stone on the sword because he felt it would be too strong. Su Ying removed the paralysis stone on the sword. Su Ying was very surprised because he had obviously removed it. But why did the sword still have the paralysis stone? Su Ying shouted, wait, don't go near it. But it was too late. The 3 of them who were heading towards the skeleton were hit by a slash from the sword, and they all fell down immediately. Princess Tia said, damn. Princess Tia, who saw the incident, wanted to help them, but she was stopped by Wally. He said, you are a magician. If he attacks directly, he will definitely lose immediately. Tia was annoyed because she couldn't do anything. Wally was scared, because if the skeleton knew he was helping them, he would be killed. Tia replied, but you're undead. Su Ying, who was hit by the sword, could not move his body. He recalled the moment when he fought Subterranean. There he had erased Subterranean, but because he opened the barrier so Subterranean could be free from there. Whereas now he didn't do anything. But why did the sword he had erased still appear here? Su Ying asked the administrator, but even the administrator didn't know the cause of the sword appearing. The paralysis he experienced would last for 1 minute. But before the time was up, the undead wanted to cut him down. Su Ying also looked resigned, but from behind appeared a magic attack from Princess Tia. Then Tia's magic bounced back to him. But unexpectedly, Wally came forward and said, Princess, please do what you promised me. Then, when the freezing magic hit him, Wally asked Princess Tia to take his body if he could get out of here. And he also gave something to Princess Tia. Because time was already stretched, Su Ying was finally able to move again. But before he tried to move, the undead stabbed Su Ying in the chest. Fortunately, before that he had gotten the CTRL plus S skill. By using that skill, Su Ying could ignore all attacks for 10 seconds. After that, Su Ying quickly cut down the undead, and he ordered Tia to attack immediately. And finally the general undead froze and was defeated. Su Ying was relieved to have defeated the monster, but Princess Tia was very disappointed. Su Ying asked, why were you disappointed? Princess Tia explained that before Wally froze, he told her why he wanted to leave this place. Wally and his best friend died on the same day because they were attacked by bandits. He thought that dying with his best friend was not a bad thing, but instead he was resurrected by the Skeleton King and forced to go to Skeleton Canyon as a cleaner. He wanted us to take him back to his village, but he helped Princess Tia instead. Su Ying thinks that Tia's freezing magic is impossible to break, and even though Wally is undead, being exposed to Tia's magic causes all 5 of his senses to be sealed. It's just like he's dead. Su Ying tried to comfort Tia, saying that if she made it out of here, she promised to bring Wally back to life. Tia wondered if that was possible. She doesn't know about royal magic. Then Tia said, "Really?" Su Ying replied, "Of course." Then the door opened. Princess Tia ordered her soldiers to enter the portal to the next floor. And Tia said, "Our next task is to help the group that has arrived and kill the Skeleton King."